The best player in any one game to win it, if you had to put all the marbles, to state it, there's a lot of ones that you could go with, but my personal one I would take Jordan to win one game, because I think the combination of athleticism, skill, will, was something. People used to ask, what was the name of that special, that ESPN thing they did on him? What was the name of that? Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
They said, you watched The Last Dance. I said, no, I lived it. And so, because, he got 55, against, he had a double nickel coming back off baseball. 10 days later, against the best defense in basketball, back when the rules were not conducive to offensive play, right? There was no freedom of movement. There was freedom to get your head handed to you if you came through the right? He got 55 against the New York Knicks on the road and hit Winnington when we doubled late with a Luka Doncic special, go up and at the last minute, find somebody, and he found Winnington. And so, I never see anything quite like that. Guy goes off and plays baseball for 2 years. Hey, I want to play basketball again. 10 days later, he's getting 55 in the Garden. It's what's happening here?
Van Gundy was talking with Mark Jackson and recalled Jordan's first comeback to the NBA after playing baseball. 10 days before Jordan officially announced his return on March 18, 1995, and after about 17 months away from basketball, he walked into Madison Square Garden to face the New York Knicks. At the time, the Knicks had the best defense in the NBA. The rules were far more physical than today. There was no freedom of movement, and offensive players were constantly hit, grabbed, and pressured. Jordan was not even in full basketball shape yet. Despite all of that, he scored 55 points on the road against the league's top defense. Van Gundy pointed out how unbelievable this was. Jordan had been playing baseball for nearly 2 years, came back with minimal preparation, and still dominated one of the toughest defensive teams in basketball. Late in the game, when the Knicks doubled him, Jordan made the right play, then passed to Bill Winnington for the game-winning basket. Van Gundy summed it up perfectly when asked if he watched The Last Dance. His response was simple: "No, I lived it." He was there, watching it happen in real time. Many fans remember that game clearly, especially Knicks fans. There was simply no stopping Jordan. John Starks couldn't stop him. Anthony Mason, one of the most physical and agile defenders of his size, couldn't stop him. Patrick Ewing and multiple double and triple teams didn't matter. Jordan hit everything: turnarounds, jumpers, fadeaways. His footwork and control were on another level. This wasn't the only time Jordan torched the Knicks for 55. Later, near the end of another season, Jeff Van Gundy once criticized Jordan publicly, calling him a con man. Jordan responded the only way he knew how, by dropping another 55 points on the Knicks in Chicago and letting Van Gundy hear about it afterward. That was Jordan's competitiveness in a nutshell. This story also highlights why many players, including Kevin Garnett, say there's no real comparison. Jordan won 3 championships, retired at his peak, played baseball, came back, and then won 3 more championships in a row. The Bulls were largely the same team without him, yet they couldn't reach the finals during his absence. Yes, Jordan had great teammates like Scottie Pippen, something even Jordan himself acknowledged, but no one wins championships alone. LeBron James also had elite teammates when he won his titles: Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, and Anthony Davis. Every champion needs help. The difference was that when Michael Jordan was on the floor, you always believed you had a real chance to win. He wasn't superhuman, but his impact felt unreal. People even called him Superman because of moments exactly like this. 10 days after returning, Jordan scored 55 points against the NBA's best defense in Madison Square Garden and sealed the win with the right play. It's just one of many storybook moments in a career filled with him, and the stories truly never end.
What makes that Madison Square Garden performance even more remarkable is the psychological weight of the moment. Jordan wasn't just returning to the NBA, he was returning to an environment that doubted whether he could still be that guy. The league had moved on, at least on the surface. New stars were rising, teams had adjusted to life without him. And yet, in one night, Jordan reminded everyone that the standard of greatness had not changed. It had merely been paused. Madison Square Garden has always been one of the most unforgiving stages in sports. Legends are tested there, not celebrated. Knicks fans prided themselves on toughness, defense, and intimidation. That 1990s Knicks team embodied everything gritty about that era of basketball. They were physical, disciplined, and relentless. They didn't just try to stop you, they tried to break your rhythm, your confidence, and your will. And yet, none of it mattered. Jordan didn't play rushed. He didn't look panicked. He didn't look like a player still finding his legs. Instead, he looked calculated. Every possession felt intentional. He picked his spots, read the defense, and punished mistakes instantly. The double teams came early, then later, then desperately. Each time, Jordan adapted. That ability to adjust in real time against elite defense is something statistics can't fully capture. This is where Jeff Van Gundy's commentary becomes so valuable. Van Gundy wasn't speaking as a fan or a media personality. He was speaking as someone who was part of the chess match. He understood the schemes, the coverages, and the effort it took just to slow Jordan down. When someone like that says, "I've never seen anything like it," it carries weight. Jordan's greatness wasn't just about scoring 55 points. It was how he scored them. He didn't rely on one move or one area of the floor. He attacked from the post, from mid-range, off the dribble, off the catch. His footwork was surgical. His balance was perfect. Even under contact, he remained controlled. That level of body control is something only a handful of players in history have possessed. And then there's the mental side. Jordan had an unmatched ability to turn doubt into fuel. Any slight, real or imagined, became motivation. The Jeff Van Gundy con man comment years later is a perfect example. Most players would laugh it off or ignore it. Jordan internalized it, remembered it, and responded in the only language he truly believed in: dominance on the court. This is why former players often struggle to compare eras or crown a new greatest of all time, because what Jordan did wasn't just about skill, it was about impact. When Jordan was in the league, everything revolved around him. Game plans were built around stopping him. Careers were defined by whether or not players could get past him. Championships were delayed, altered, or denied because he stood in the way. The Bulls without Jordan were a very good team. They won games, they competed, but they did not inspire fear. With Jordan, the Bulls became inevitable. Opponents didn't just worry about losing, they worried about how they would lose. Slowly, brutally, publicly. Jordan had a way of breaking teams emotionally before the series even ended. That's why the 6 championships matter, but not in isolation. It's the context around them that elevates them. 2 separate three-peats, no finals losses, stepping away at the height of his powers, then returning to reclaim the throne. That kind of narrative doesn't happen by accident. It requires an almost obsessive level of preparation, competitiveness, and belief. Kevin Garnett touched on this perfectly in his discussion with Stephen A. Smith. The idea that Jordan could walk away, pursue another professional sport, come back, and still be the best player in the world defies normal athletic logic. Most players decline with age. Jordan reinvented himself. He became less reliant on raw athleticism and more reliant on precision, footwork, and mental warfare. It's also important to address the teammate argument honestly. Yes, Scottie Pippen was elite, Dennis Rodman was unique, Phil Jackson was a brilliant coach, but greatness has never existed in isolation. Magic had Kareem, Kobe had Shaq, LeBron had Wade, Kyrie, and Davis. Basketball is a team sport. The difference is that Jordan was always the axis, the center around which everything functioned. When Jordan was on the floor, roles made sense. Players knew who they were. The hierarchy was clear. That clarity creates confidence, and confidence wins championships.
Jordan didn't just elevate his own play, he elevated the environment. That Madison Square Garden game is a perfect microcosm of all of this. It wasn't just a regular season performance, it was a message, a reminder, a statement that time away hadn't softened him, that the league hadn't caught up, that the crown was still his. And perhaps the most Jordan-like part of the story is the ending. With all the attention on him, all the scoring, all the pressure, the final play wasn't a forced shot, it was a pass. He drew the defense, trusted his teammate, and made the winning play. That moment alone dismantles the lazy narrative that Jordan was just a scorer. He was a closer, a competitor, a leader who understood exactly what was required to win. That's why stories like this endure. They're not just highlights, they're lessons in excellence. They remind us why certain players transcend the sport itself. Michael Jordan wasn't perfect, he wasn't invincible, but when the moment demanded greatness, he delivered it more consistently than anyone else. And that's why, decades later, people are still talking about a random regular season game in March, because when Michael Jordan stepped on the court, even ordinary nights had a way of becoming legendary.